I heard that you finally saw Wicked.
I
Is this
did.
true?
I did indeed.
Inquiring minds must know.
I give it an A++. It was really good. It was really. It was just a lovely story. Just a wonderful. I mean, look, I'd seen the musical, so and it follows the musical almost. I mean, it extends things out, right? So I mean, this part one is 2.5 hours, I think, 2 hours and 40 minutes, and the act one of the musical is maybe 45 minutes or 50 minutes or something like that, but it follows it.
They expanded it quite a bit then.
No, it expands it a lot. It expands a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of extra stuff in there, but basically the structure of the act one is this first part.
So you're going to be like waiting in line for part 2 to come out.
I don't know if I'm going to be waiting in line for it, but yeah, and because I didn't wait in line for this one either, but it's lovely. The two leads, I mean, Ariana Grande and I'm forgetting the other lead. My apologies, but they were just both lovely. They're so good, so wonderful. It's and it's a great story. It's such a great story.
I'm one of the few people that haven't seen it yet.
It's worth seeing. You'd like it. It's good. I mean, the music is fantastic. As I said, the two leads are great. Jeff Goldblum is great. There's, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, the original cast. They make a cameo appearance.
Now you're giving all it away.
Yeah, no, there's nothing I'm giving away. Look, the story is well known, so there's no spoilers here.
Well, we spent our money and we went and saw the Bob Dylan.
Which I hear is just meh.
Chalamet.
I hear is meh.
I thought Chalamet's performance is fantastic. I thought it's worth seeing in my opinion.
Yeah.
So there's no.
Well, I heard Dylan was basically like, yeah, just make some shit up. None of this is true. So
it sounds like a Bob Dylan song.
There you go.
So but amazing. Go see it. Go see it. Absolutely.
Just remember, everybody has your story to tell. Tell it well. Of this old marketing.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. I'm Robert Rose. Welcome to episode number 463 for Friday, January 17th. Happy birthday to my wife, 2025. A special episode about content marketing. And with me, as usual, is my pal, my colleague, and a guy who really doesn't care about the Super Bowl, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
I mean, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I'll watch the Super Bowl. But the only good thing about what's going to happen in the Super Bowl is I will be right. And the LA Rams will end up going all the way and winning.
Yeah.
Just like we predicted in our first NFL predictions episode.
Yeah.
How about are any of your picks going to win the Super Bowl?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think any of them are actually going to make it. Maybe the Chiefs do. I don't know.
Well, I mean, when the Chiefs say, not only do they have a very good team, but they have all those refs.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely. That's absolutely.
That's terrible to say.
Yeah. Have you seen those memes going? You've seen those memes going around.
It's
basically.
So crazy how.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Like you brush by Patrick Mahomes and there's somebody throwing a flag,
roughing the passer,
roughing the passer, something
right.
like that. No, but I mean they just find a way to win. We'll see how it goes. But we still got a while. I really like the Detroit Lions. I
think they're good. There's team. A huge. I mean,
I
as
like
we
the
record
aggressive
this,
nature of the coach. It's just
he's great. He's great. Yeah, and as we record this, they have a huge game coming up on Sunday with this will be the first time in first time in NFL history that a 14-win team will not be their division champion and will be a wild card seed.
What?
Yeah.
They won the division.
No, but they're going to face the Vikings because the Vikings are 13-2 as well.
Oh,
or a 13 win team. My apologies.
13
A
win.
13 win
Okay.
team. Yeah, a
Okay.
13 win team. So it's basically a 13 win team will be a wild. One of the two is going to be a wild card. So it'll either be
Jeez.
and basically you'll either be the number 1 seed or the number 6 seed or 5 seed.
5 seed.
So it's 1 or 5.
Geez. Yeah, sounds like something that would happen to the Browns.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So.
It's crazy.
Anyways, it should be interesting.
Yeah,
should be
it's
fun.
Yeah, but it's gonna be fun.
And then, what I think is the most interesting about football season this year is the fact that you have the whole month of January is basically college football month.
I know.
And that's never really happened before.
Right.
So it's a lot of football.
It's a lot of football. It's good
As
stuff.
Dr. Pepper says, it's playoff-uary.
Right. Oh God.
So ads work.
No. That wasn't AI generated. You know that. That was
not at all. Playoff-uary.
Playoff-uary.
Is I can't even. Yeah.
But
here I am saying it.
Yeah.
So it's working.
Yeah.
All right. What
we got a special episode. We do have so you had posted a thing on LinkedIn called, like how to make sure that you're meh this year in marketing.
I think it was how to be viciously mediocre.
Right. And I, interestingly enough, and without consultation from you and I together, my keynote at Content Marketing World was about how marketers are now kind of, I called them the knights of meh, sort of play on the Monty Python idea. And so we thought what we would do is say, let's look at content marketing specifically for the coming year and, look at a few things that would ensure that you're meh, that your strategy is meh this year in content marketing. So it'll be a little tongue in cheek, basically the things that you shouldn't do, right? If it's not clear, if it's not clear enough for you, these are the things that you shouldn't do. So we've each got a couple here. We're going to keep this short and sweet, just to get in and out of here with nobody getting hurt. And so I think let's just jump right in. Let's just jump right in. Like, what do you got? What's your first one?
So when I did mine was for 2025. So I had a couple, and I'm just going to throw out the couple that have nothing to do with content marketing just to get out of the way, because I think it's interesting. My one was, if you want to be viciously mediocre or meh in 2025, is work for somebody else. So that
wow. All right.
So there it is. I mean, you and I both work for ourselves.
Coming in hot. Yeah.
Coming in hot. But let's just put on the marketing hat there. There's no loyalty in most companies anymore. It's very, very, and with what we've seen, we talked about in the last episode with the different title changes for marketers' career and all that. I mean, so that one's sort of not, but yes, a little bit relevant. And then the other one was financial. So I'm going to take those out. And so I have 3 that I want to talk about. I'll talk about the first one here, and I want to get your take on it. So if you want to be content marketing meh for 2025, I have create content in more than 3 platforms. And the reason why I say that is, we've talked about this at Will. When I talk to somebody like after a speech, or I get an email from somebody who's really struggling, almost invariably I can predict that they're trying to create content for TikTok and Instagram and email newsletter and webinar program and a print magazine and all the things. They're doing all the things. And basically, if you're jack of all trades, master of none, you're not going to be very successful. Now, if you're a full-fledged media company and you have lots of resources, you don't have this problem. But if you're a content marketer, you absolutely do. So if you want to absolutely fail for the next year, why don't you focus on at least 3 platforms and see how far you get? My recommendation would not be to do that, but I don't know if you have a take on that. That was mine.
Do you remember this used to happen so often when we would do the masterclass tour, when you and I were running around the country and we would be teaching, content marketing. And inevitably somebody would come to us during the lunch break usually. And they would say, so Joe and Robert, here's my problem. I have a blog and we're trying to address at least 4 or 5 audiences on this blog. And I feel like it might be an issue. And we would just literally stand there and just stare at the person. We would just stare,
No, to that, I remember a specific example. It was a woman who this is one of the largest tech companies in the world, had their blog. And she said she's she's targeting 8 different personas
Right.
with
That's
that
right.
blog. And you and I just looked at each other and said, "Yeah, good luck with that."
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to be successful. Now, if
The-
you want to be successful, we could talk about that.
The
but
problem is in your question. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So same type of thing, right? Target more than one audience. Yeah, you're going to fail. Target, I think that you can do 2 platforms really, really well. Like, I really do think that whether that's a podcast and an email newsletter, or whether you're on TikTok and doing video, or YouTube doing video, and then you have some kind of own strategy as part of that. But I just think that if you're trying to do all the things, it's just so difficult and so competitive to build an audience like that. You're just going to be looking for a new job.
Yeah, I think, and to be clear, I think what we're really talking about here is where you focus your efforts, right?
Yeah.
Focusing your efforts on one platform. It's not that you don't use social media to promote that one effort, right? So
That's right.
it's so if you're using LinkedIn as an example to build distribution and or promotion of your thought leadership that is on your own media platform or your email newsletter or whatever it is, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Where's your home base? Yeah, you have one home base,
one
key home. Like, our home base here would be our podcast.
That's right.
Whatever, and then secondarily, you and I have a newsletter.
That's right.
But we also
that's
do.
right.
Same
That's
same
right.
type of thing. And keep it simple.
Yeah,
keep it simple.
That's exactly right.
All right. What's your first content marketing meh?
I think it's basically it's one that I talked about in, I can't remember if it was the prediction show or the lessons learned show, but it's putting all your influencer efforts into finding external influencers and none on building the internal influence. And you and I have talked at some length about this idea of, how we really need to focus in on our humans in our organization and help them become personal brands and help them build their own influence and leverage our great team members to become influencers themselves. And I think if you want to be meh, you'll basically not do any of that, and you'll put all your efforts into finding external influencers and none on building your internal influence to what your team can do for you.
That seems like the external influencer only model is the very 5 years ago type model.
Well, yeah, but it's so prevalent. I've seen it be so prevalent. That's like, when you go, okay, we're going to talk about influence marketing, right? We're going to talk about influencers and how we're going to approach that in a 2025 part of our marketing strategy. Inevitably, the conversation goes, okay, who are the influencers in our industry? Who do we want to reach out to? Who do we want PR to start to develop relationships with? Who do we want to start to have blog for us? Who do we want to pay to help, write a paper for us and all that kind of stuff? And all that's great. Let me be clear. All of that is important. But if you don't also integrate what you're doing with your own internal teams and, for years we've talked about this, right? It's like one of the ways to build up the thought leadership prowess of your organization is to have your CEO, your CMO, your head of sales, your head of your head of product, whoever it is, your people sit side by side with those influencers. We saw this happen. One of the best examples of this that I can remember is what Adobe, and they completely screwed it up, by the way, by killing CMO.com. But one of the things that they did that was so brilliant was in the early days, they had external influencers come in and write posts for CMO.com. And then they would put Adobe writers from, internal alongside. So you would see, a David Meerman Scott writing an article for CMO.com next to an Adobe employee. And so they got that halo effect of influence from that. And that's the way to start to think about it.
Boy, yeah, what a great example that was. Remember, we would always use that up as our shining content marketing example 12 years ago or something like that. And then they just said, no, we're going to switch. I think it was a new CMO that came in. They're like, it always seems to be, right? Didn't they do that?
It was, no, the CMO was there. Ann Lunas, she was there for a number of years and was there for all of its disassembly. It was marketing. There was a marketing leadership layer underneath, and that sort of began to not see the value in CMO.com and ultimately turned it into a basically turned it into their own internal blog where they basically promoted all things happening at Adobe, events.
It was the hey, we're not talking enough about ourselves and our products and
Exactly.
services, which everybody has been through, right? You're like, and then you have to say, well, we'd like it to work. We'd like it to build an audience.
Yeah.
So that's something different that you want to do.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. What do you got?
You want me to do my second
Yeah,
one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do your second one. Yeah.
Okay. So my second content marketing meh is create content in a highly competitive area. So if you want to be viciously mediocre, go and find a content area that everyone is in that pond and creating whatever content it is. And just to give you an example of what we're seeing right now is everyone jumping into AI content.
Right.
I mean, come on. Now, there will be some winners, like even in marketing. So how many of, I think you mentioned this a few episodes ago, how many of our brethren who are speakers and writers and authors and consultants in this area have just totally switched and said everything is tunnel vision AI.
Yep.
They've just gone.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, a few will be successful, but most won't. And then you'll be searching for the next. That's just the thing that kills me. I think you mentioned it when with the lessons learned when you were talking about people that just jumped over to the metaverse thing.
Yeah, just chase
tokenization without having a core
thing,
base. It's just like we're doing that.
Tomorrow, it's like on Tuesday they were expert in X, and on Wednesday they were deep experts in whatever the bright shiny thing was, and switched their entire persona to be now a deep expert in this bright and shiny object thing. And like you say, some of them will navigate that well because they'll be quote unquote a first mover and they're smart enough and quick enough and have the resources enough to sort of paper the walls with that level of expertise. And some of them will have developed that level of expertise. But the ones typically that win that, what people forget, like for example, with AI is Paul Reitzer, he didn't discover AI in November of 2022, right? He discovered AI and he was talking about AI in 2018, right? In 2019. And he went all in on that and basically built up over time with no audience and nobody listening to him and everybody telling him how not a thing this was going to be. And ultimately, it turned out to be right. That's so it's finding those things that you're passionate about and can, you used to call it was it the sweet spot? Basically the
content tilt.
Yeah. Right. Where it's like, you find the thing that you're really most passionate about and the thing that you can be the best in the world at. Right.
Yeah. And I think that's where, you have to differentiate in some way with all the content clutter that's out there. So I do like to, a lot of people disagree with this, but I like to say, hey, if you were to take your content area to your particular audience and say, hey, if we do the work, if we deliver consistent content, valuable content over a long period of time, can we be the leading expert in the world on that topic? Like if you laugh at that, you're probably headed the wrong direction. Like you have to say, oh yeah, I really think that if we can be that leading expert, that's where I think you want to be.
Yep.
Instead of just, oh yeah, there's 1,000 other companies just like us that are in this content area. Of course, we're going to be able to differentiate, talking about the same stuff. So anyway,
yeah.
All right, your second one.
My second one is if you want to be content marketing meh, make sure that you put 100% of your time into tweaking your tech stack and making sure that you make things more and more automated over time, and making sure that your analytics dashboards are 100% bulletproof and perfect and always sorted out and have the perfect data on them. And just make sure that you're always constantly tweaking that thing and spending all your time on it.
Have you ever seen, like you've worked with a lot of companies that are implementing, it started with, email and then marketing automation. And then now God knows what they're, more than I do. it always seems like it takes way more people and resources and way longer time and almost isn't worth the effort to do some of these things where you end up using a tool and maybe you're using 10% of what that tool can do.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of been your historical experience.
It's the I don't know if it's a dirty little secret, but it's certainly the underlying sort of cliche, and there's a reason that is a cliche, that putting in an enterprise level marketing stack tool, whether it's content management, digital asset management, marketing automation, a data lake, enterprise AI, whatever it is, the cliche is basically, hey, CMS implementation, we hired a company that brought it in on time, on budget, and every feature that we wanted is working perfectly. It's like, it never happens, right? Said no marketing team ever in the history of any CMS implementation. There is always a phase 2, a phase 3, a phase 4. And by the time you get to phase 2, the phase 1 stuff is now broken, and then phase 2 stuff gets put off. And so phase 3 never really happens. And it's like, you're in this constant sort of, I always use the metaphor of the way that they paint the Golden Gate Bridge, right? It takes a year to paint the Golden Gate Bridge from end to end. And as soon as they finish, they go back and start again, repainting it from the beginning. That's all we ever do, is we're repainting our bridges. And so so we never have time to do anything interesting or out of the box, because we're always waiting on that next capability, that next thing that we will be able to do as soon as the technology allows it. And it's like, no, you just got to do the thing. You have to start doing the thing. You have to start doing the things that you want to do creatively, your stories, the engagement, the audience development. All of those external things are ultimately so much more important than making sure that your analytics database or your analytics, dashboards are absolutely perfect for the executive, so that when they come up, they're reflective of real-time marketing performance. It's like, that's just bullshit.
Well, I always say, like, if you're looking to buy a new tool or get a new subscription to something or implement something, make sure it's got to be incredibly painful for you right now. Like, you just can't take it anymore. That's when I think the time is to go buy it. Like, I don't think you do it like, oh, it's a good idea, maybe we should. I think it's like, oh my God, that's when I would do it, instead of just trying to get ahead of the curve. I'd always kind of like Walmart's e-commerce strategy. It's like, let's just wait a little bit.
Let's
see how things go, and then we'll
simplify things. It's just just simplify things. We used to have this. When I was back doing big enterprise CMS deployments, we would have these conversations with clients where they would say, well, John, the director of marketing in EMEA, he's always doing rogue things and pushing publish out when he shouldn't be pushing publish. So we need to develop this complex workflow that basically accounts for John's, ability to be able to publish things before they're actually approved by Mary. And Mary needs to actually so we have this parallel sort of divergent workflow only for this particular kind of app. And it's like, no, just tell John not to push the damn button, right? It's just... stop trying to make a workflow for every possible scenario that you can actually try, and just basically simplify things and just tell John not to push things.
John always is the problem.
He's always pushing things that he shouldn't push.
All right, let's I think we should pay some bills here. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do it.
Do you feel like your leads never lead anywhere? And you're making content that no one sees, and it takes forever to build a campaign? Well, that's why we built HubSpot. It's an AI-powered customer platform that builds campaigns for you, tells you which leads are worth knowing, and makes writing blogs, creating videos, and posting on social a breeze. So now, it's easier than ever to be a marketer. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Can I be direct for a moment? Direct about a podcast? That's the DTC Pod. The DTC Pod, hosted by Ramon Barrios and Blaine Bolus, well, it's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, and it's about all things direct-to-consumer. Ramon and Blaine cover everything from starting, growing, and optimizing e-commerce direct-to-consumer brands. They talk with founders, marketers, platforms, creators, and marketing and growth agencies to cover all kinds of topics like brand building, social media, influencer marketing, website conversion, paid media, Facebook ads, consumer trends, email marketing, and if you can believe it, more. That's right. Find DTC Pod wherever you follow your favorite podcasts.
I have one more. Would you like to hear my one more?
One more. Yeah, I got one more
Mark-
too. One more too. Yeah.
Okay. I thought you had like 8 more
No.
because you had to really narrow it down.
No.
Because you basically said there's so many people doing some horrible stuff.
That is not
You wanted
true. You stop that. You shut your
You stop
mouth.
telling lies.
You shut your mouth.
You dirty rat.
You
Okay.
keep my practice out your mouth.
So and my content marketing math additional, my last one for 2025 is make sure you use all the AI tools you have to create content.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, we've talked about this a bit, but I'm still seeing the trend happen where you have more and more marketers that are trying to figure out how to create like brand new organic, which is not really a thing, content using Claude or OpenAI or Gemini or whatever they're using. And I think that's a big mistake. I think that AI, as Andy Crestodina has always said, stands for average information. And I think if you're looking for average information, then go ahead and use those kind of tools. As far as it comes to for assistants and agents and little different functions, that's fine. Absolutely test out those AI tools or whatever. But I think for just content creation itself, I think that's a last resort for us right now as marketers, when I think in some cases, and maybe I don't know if you agree with this or not, but it seems to be the first instinct of a lot of content marketers is, how do I use these tools to create content? And I think that's a gut instinct that they should put somewhere and just forget about for a long time, because it's not there yet.
Yeah. No, I'm 100%. There's an amazing graph that Andy showed me at he was at Marketing Profs B2B, and Andy showed me this graph. It was this sort of long tail graph of traffic and and conversions and sort of quantity of content. And he was showing, it's very typical, sort of very high and then very steep drop off and then a long tail.
Yep.
And he's basically the point was that so much of conversions and value sort of stop right at the where the sort of steep drop off ends. And he's like, basically what it tells you is that it's way more effective to create 2 amazing things that do very well rather than 100 things that create the long tail. Mm-hmm. And he's like, it's value in creating scarcity. But really good stuff. He said, so focusing your efforts on creating 2 really amazing research projects instead of 100 really, commoditized AI created blog posts is the successful formula.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at your content niche area, look at the content gaps.
Yeah.
Like just to talk about Andy, a great example. He said, there's no real good research out there on blogging.
Right.
Like, nobody's really going through. It's like, how long is the average blog post? What converts? Right. What doesn't?
That's right.
How many people do you have on your team? Just those basic questions. He said, I couldn't find them anywhere. So I think it's like something like 10 years ago, he started this research, and he gets more traffic going to that research because it wasn't being done. So instead of saying, okay, let's create more of this textual and visual content using these brand new AI tools, and just sit back for a second and say, well, what do my customers really want and need that they don't have right now?
That's right.
That would be a great story to tell in 2025.
Exactly.
So anyway.
Well, it feeds into my last one, which is, if you want to be content marketing, you should basically brand Schmand. You should only focus on lead generation, right? And believe it or not, I still have people come up to me and go, they really have a hard time building a business case around doing thought leadership at the brand level, right? Sort of at the awareness sort of level where it can't be focused in on a direct conversion to a lead, and all those kinds of things. And it's like, wow, if you want to be meh, ignore your brand stage of your customer's journey, and ignore the trust and audience building that you do at that brand level, because that's the quickest way to become mediocre.
It reminds me, Brian Clark, who doesn't own Copyblogger at anymore, but obviously started Copyblogger, I think in 05 or 06, said really initially started by focusing on some lead gen, and then realized that his main customer, like his most profitable customer, didn't buy anything until they were reading the blog or the newsletter for like 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
And 99% of their sales came with that building that relationship of trust.
Yep.
So totally changed the mentality. So that's where you and I have been talking about. It's like, build that relationship first, be the trusted expert.
Totally.
And then from there, you'll yield all this amazing opportunity, and people will buy your stuff.
There you go.
They'll buy whatever you put in front of them if they trust you. So, but you got to get to that point first, and you can't be impatient with it. So,
That was totally fun.
it seemed to work out. And, my prediction will be that this episode will be watched by exactly the same people that watch the one previous and the next one.
Well, that's fine by me.
That's
because
fine. We love our audience.
We love our audience no matter what they prefer.
Yeah.
Right?
And I guess my one, if you want to go to, thisoldmarketing.com and leave us a little note, what I would like to know is if we're going to do a next special episode, because you and I are traveling all the time. So sometimes we have to do one. Like, what would you like to hear in a special episode? And we'd be happy to put one together.
Leave us some voicemail, would you? That would be awesome. We'd love
great.
hearing from you. It's always awesome, because then we can
'Cause
put
we
your
could
voice on the show, and
we could start the special episode with the question.
Yeah,
Would you do a special episode on this and give you a little love at the same time?
Yes,
There you go.
100%. There you go.
Excellent. Wonderful.
All right.
Take a second.
All right. Well, there you go. That's our special episode. Short, sweet, kicking off the year with some stuff. Hopefully that's really helpful in your work. And we will be back next week with a regular news-oriented episode. And, let us know. Won't you come leave us a voicemail? And until we see you again next week, just remember, everybody, it's your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing. Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.